guys, this is Tina from Shabbydabbydoodah. Welcome back to my channel. So I am here again with my autumn journal. So this is using my new autumn kit, and we kind of made some of this together. So I've got 1 or 2 pages that we've done together. I actually can't remember which pages they were, but maybe this one. But I have obviously been, you know, working in it, you know, yeah, in slow time on my own kind of thing. Now, what I thought we could do today is have a look at how you would fix a messed up journal. So this journal is an altered book, and it's okay. I mean, as you can see, it's kind of held in there pretty well like that. But you can probably see that what's happened, I've torn out 1 too many pages in here. Now, it's not really a problem, if I'm truthful. It isn't compromised. It's not kind of, you know, it's not wobbly or anything. I mean, I can move this a little bit, but this is all, you know, it's in there pretty well. So, I mean, obviously, you know, I could just glue like a strip of lace or, you know, anything else down there, and that would really kind of reinforce this and, you know, hold it together, you know, extra well, and give it sort of that extra bit of security. Probably not the black, because obviously I haven't really used black anywhere else in this journal, although I did think it looked quite nice in there. You know, but that would be one way to fix it. You know, obviously, alternatively, you could actually snip the whole signature out and then, you know, re-put it in, if you see what I mean. But what I want to have a look at doing is, if you've done this and let's say your pages were very wobbly. So, I mean, my page, this is the loosest page in here, and it's not loose by any means, you know, it's totally stuck in there. You know, it's not coming out at all. But let's just say that you had pages and they were now coming out, because sometimes what can happen with an altered book is when you know, you tear your pages out, depending on how the pages have been put in, it can compromise the rest of the pages. So like I say, that has not happened in this case. It's, you know, they are all totally, you know, totally fine. They're totally in there 100%. But what I wanted to do was kind of just do a, yeah, an emergency kind of like get around if this happens to you, because I have had it happen with, you know, with books in the past. So what you could always do is change your altered book into a bound journal. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here. We're going to fix up a messed up journal. So, you know, like I say, this is not, you know, this isn't really, you know, it isn't messed up. And I say really, it's not messed up at all. I have taken 1 too many pages out of here, but other than being a little bit unsightly, it's not really a problem. These pages are totally, you know, they're not going anywhere. That whole thing is still completely attached. But we're going to work as if, you know, as if we thought it wasn't. So at this point, it's literally killing me to do what I'm about to do, because I want to show you how I would go about, you know, changing this into a different type of journal if you've messed up an altered book. Okay, so what you're going to need is probably your craft knife, which stupidly I didn't get mine prepped. So probably your craft knife, failing that, some scissors. So I'm just going to poke my blades out, okay, and I'm going to just cut this now from the, you know, from the hardcover, just so that we've got, you know, better access to it. I mean, you can see it's in there so well, it's not even coming away even now. There we go. Right. Okay, now I haven't gone as far as even painting those first couple of pages. So I'm going to take it down, oops, down here. Okay, like that. Oops, like that. Okay, so now what I've got is obviously my empty, you know, my empty covers, and I've got my journal pages here. Now, can you see that shape there? That's indicative of where I've kind of like, you know, torn too many pages and it's now gone, can you see, like skewiff. It doesn't comfortably want to sit back like that. Now, that being said, we are still attached to all of our, you know, the bookbinding stuff that books are attached to. So, you know, this is quite a good, you know, situation. So if you had this, you could, of course, you know, make another, you know, like spine, attach it, and then put the whole thing back in. And that would be, you know, completely held tight into your book. But what we're going to look at doing is if, for example, your pages actually, you know, were not really attached now, so they are kind of compromised, we're going to look at then what you would do to change this into a sort of, you know, bound journal instead. So I'm just putting that to one side. So what I need to do is separate out all of my pages, really. And then what we're going to do is we're going to punch holes, and then we're going to fasten them into a different method of binding. Now, I'm thinking just probably even maybe some ribbon. So we used this ribbon, you know, on one of the pages. So I'm kind of thinking we could even like hold it bound together with the ribbon. I think that would look very, very pretty. Or, you know, we could use it with some sari silk or something like that. You could always put it on rings and it would become a ring bound journal, but I'm thinking to soften it up would be really nice to perhaps, you know, use ribbon or something like that. So yeah, we're going to do that. So like I said, it is literally killing me to even be doing this now. I'm like, why did I think this was a good idea for a video? Yeah, it was just because when I saw that I'd taken one too many pages out, I thought, oh, well, you know, let's do a video kind of for how to kind of like alter a book into something different. So, yeah, well, we've torn it out now. We might as well continue with my original plan, mightn't we? But now I am like, oh, or should we just bind it back into the original cover? Maybe that would be more sensible. I mean, you can see it would go in there pretty easily, to be honest. So, yeah, perhaps I should do that. And all we'd have to do is obviously make up a you know, a new spine there, glue it in, and then have it glued, you know, here and here. Oh, should we do that? Oh, I'm completely torn. Because, yeah, my original plan for the video, now like, oh, I don't really want to do that. Oh, do you know, let's just go for it, because yeah, that was my plan for the video. So yeah, let's just do that. It's just because obviously it's very hard to take apart a journal that, you know, you've worked on for hours, isn't it? But hey, hopefully this is going to be useful to some people. So right, what we're going to do, we're going to take it apart. Now you can see this one here is the most compromised page. It is still attached, and of course if I were to glue this onto a new spine, it would be, you know, it would be completely, you know, completely fine. But you can see, you know, it's loosely attached, if you see what I mean. So this is our worst page. So we're just going to go in and just separate out the threads that were holding it, if that makes sense. Now this is a pocket page. My pocket is in there like that. So that's why I'm going to try and take these apart as close to the root as I possibly can, because obviously some of these are pocket pages. If the pocket page, this is not a pocket page. If the pocket page, this one isn't either. This one is. So if the pocket page becomes compromised, i.e. becomes undone at the bottom, then all you're going to need to do is, of course, glue it, you know, along that section. So, but I'm just going to take my craft knife. Oops, just going to make the blade a bit longer so it's poking in properly. Okay, so you can see my page is still attached here as a pocket. Okay. So we're going to do that for all of the pages. I mean, as you can see, some of them are now literally just dropping out. This one is not a pocket page. This one is, you know, a solid page. Is that a pocket? Yes, that one's a pocket. So it's the pocket ones really that I need to be a little bit more sort of careful about really, because I'm trying to, you know, keep them intact as pockets. Okay, so like that. Now I'm not worried. You can see here that edge is quite tatty. I don't mind that. I think that's, you know, I think that's quite nice. You know, so just kind of go with the flow and just take them out how they, you know, naturally almost want to fall out really. So this one, just taking it down here. Oops. Like that. Okay, so again, this one's not a pocket page. Now on here, obviously I've got quite a bit of that sort of bookbinding stuff on there, so I'm going to just trim that off, you know, because whilst I don't mind my edges not being straight, obviously, you know, something like that is going to be not brilliant. Okay, so now I have to be careful because at this stage my book could quite easily, you know, I could mess up the order of the pages. So this one again is a pocket page. So again, you know, you're just wanting to kind of open it right out so that you can get in to where those threads are of the original, you know, the original binding stuff. Okay, so like that. I think this one was the first page that we did together. So you can see it's still bound in, you know, on the inside. Is that a pocket page? No, that one's not. So again, you know, if they're not pocket pages, I'm not even going to worry. I'm just going to sort of tear them out really. So this one, again, just going to go along and just sort of take off that sort of very, you know, let's face it, flimsy edge. So like that. Okay, and this one again is a pocket page. So again, just want to kind of be a bit more mindful of how I'm getting this out. Now this, now you can probably see it's much more glued into the book, so I'm having to be a bit more sort of what's the word, aggressive, I suppose. So opening it right out and then, you know, going right into my binding. Okay, so now this has come out with a lot of the binding on there, so I'm going to have to trim that off and just hope for the best that I don't actually compromise the pocket. But if I do, like I say, it's not the end of the world. I can just then literally stitch it back. Stitch it? No, not stitch it. Well, you could stitch it, but yeah, I can literally just glue it back together and it would all be fine. So there we go. Okay, so looking good. Right, so again, just really squishing them open. I mean, you can see now I'm kind of back towards like the front of the book here. They're going to be much easier to get to again. So it was just kind of in the middle of the book that they then have become much more difficult to actually kind of like get to and separate. So just take this down here. So I think I've gone like a bit all over the place here. So yeah, this one, I'm going to just again trim out the, oops, trim out the edge. Oh my goodness, what a mess I've made of this one. So yeah, who knows, this is going to maybe be a how not to rather than how to video. Oh my goodness. Right, so I'm going to have to go in slightly over because that bookbinding stuff is, you know, was quite thick and very resistant. So again, going in. Now this one I've opened out a little bit. I've now opened it out much more to just show you. So obviously my pocket's now compromised. So what I can now do, I might as well open it right the way like that. And then I can just run my glue right the way, oops, on the inside there. Like that, okay. Like that. And then, yep, just squish this one together. Okay. Now this, I had a bit of a mishap with the pages gluing together with the paint, so I'm also just going to glue this part down as well. Okay, like that. Okie dokie, right. So that's glued my pocket back together. Okie dokie, going in for this one now. Whoops, flicking stuff around all over the desk. So this one again, this is not a pocket page from what I can see anyway. So straight down along the binding stuff. Now, I mean, I've made a terrible job of that. Really not very neat at all. So I'll just go in and just neaten it up. I don't mind if my pages are no longer the same size, if you see what I mean, because you're probably thinking, well, your pages aren't going to be the same size now. I mean, that doesn't really worry me, to be honest. You know, I think they'll look quite nice and quite interesting actually not being the same size. So that's that one. Okay, and then we'll just take this one. I mean, the reason why I thought this would be quite helpful as a video is because, like I say, this is the type of thing that has happened to me in the past. And, you know, kind of like maybe in the past, you know, I've kind of like, well, either thrown the journal away or, you know, the project away and thought, oh gosh, I've mucked it up, and I've just thrown it in the bin, or I've just shelved it and it's just sat on a shelf, you know, for the longest time ever since, no longer being worked on because I've thought, oh gosh, you know, mucked it up. And it's kind of almost gone there with that sort of, you know, that nightmare like thought process attached to it. So like every time, like, you know, that particular journal enters your head, you're like, oh no, don't think about that one, what a disaster that was. So, you know, hopefully I'm not the only person that that's happened to. I'm sure I can't be. So I just thought, well, perhaps some of you out there have had this type of thing happen, and then thought, well, what am I going to do? And to be honest, this one actually was probably not the best example because, like I say, it actually all came out pretty neatly on this, you know, the glued in bookbinding stuff. This would be more appropriate for, you know, like if it's not even come out, you know, nicely. So there would be no opportunity of actually binding it into a book again. Which, you know, that's the type of thing that I have had, you know, I have had that happen in the past. So, you know, it's very easily done, you know, to kind of compromise the structure of the book because, you know, we've taken a lot of pages out of the book. So, of course, you know, it's very easy to, you know, no longer have a book that's actually, you know, workable or usable. So, there we go. Okay. So, and I mean, this one, like you can see, I mean, this even got the, you know, the book binding stuff, you know, caught in it. I'm going to just leave that there because I think that looks actually really nice. So, you know, don't be kind of like too obsessed that you have to go really to town tidying it up. I mean, really what your, you know, your goal is just really getting the pages removed in an okay fashion, you know, so they're kind of going to be useful or usable. So that one, okay, right. We're nearly there, you'll be pleased to know, because I'm sure this is probably not very interesting watching me do this, but yeah, I mean, definitely, I just think over the time of making journals, you know, I've had all sorts of things happen, and it's probably only kind of in the last, well, actually probably only the last couple of years that I've become a bit braver and thought, you know, you can really come back from most things, you know, like most things are fixable, even if it means you've got to change your original plan. So, you know, this obviously, it was an altered book. It's not now going to be an altered book. So just kind of approach your projects with a degree of, you know, flexibility and sort of no pressure on yourself that it, you know, it must be this or it must be that. And then I think most things are going to be salvageable or, you know, fixable and things like that. So that would be, you know, my tip really. Right, okay, so this one, as you can see, I mean, this is properly bound together. So I literally am now detaching this completely because, you know, it was properly still, you know, very well bound into the... What is that stuff called? It's like a gauze, isn't it? You know, that the books are bound into. And obviously not all books are, you know, attached on a gauze like that. So, you know, again, different, you know, different books are going to have different issues and different problems. I mean, like I say, actually in hindsight, this probably wasn't the best book to use because, to be honest, it held together very well. Even when I then took it apart, it was still holding together, you know, very well for me to demonstrate what I was trying to demonstrate. So, yeah, I mean, it was just one of those fluky things. Oh, look. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, right. Okay, so this is where I've had obviously 2 pages stick together with the paint. So, yeah, you can see obviously what happened. I didn't wait for the paint to dry. The pages have stuck together with the paint. I hadn't even noticed that when it was obviously together as a book. So we're going to take those apart, and then what I will do now is probably glue them together. So I'm just going to cut this edge off. Oh my goodness. Come on. Oh, what is going on? Right, let's try again. So cut that edge off there. Right, now I'm going to take this one. Just tidy this edge up. That was pretty, you know, pretty messy with all that sort of bulk. So as you can see again here, I've compromised that and cut open that pocket. So again, just going to take my glue. And like I say, I mean, I'm using glue. You could, of course, stitch this edge. Either is fine. But all you're doing is, you know, re-sticking it together. Okay. So that one. Right, that one. So must not lose my page order. Otherwise I'm going to be here all day trying to get it all back. Get it all back into order. So, oh my goodness. And already I have. Uh-oh. Excuse me. Oh, what am I doing? What am I doing? Was that there? No, no, no. Right. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Right. Okay. I'm so sorry about that. I had a complete frog in my throat. So I just had to clear my throat a bit. Right. Okay. Let's go around here. And we're just going to glue those 2 pages together that had obviously got stuck together with the paint, which goes to show you what good paint the acrylic, good glue the acrylic paint is, because it was not wanting to come apart, was it? It was, yeah, pretty well stuck. Okay, right. There we go. Just pop that down like that. Okay. So, right, let's just use my glue spreader. Okay. Right, okay, so I've now put those 2 pages back together. Oh dear, what a lot of messing about. Right, okay, so I've got this tatty edge going on here. I'm just going to get rid of that entire edge now. Like that. Okay, right. So I've got my pages together. That's those. Then this page obviously goes with those. Was this the page that I had to glue that pocket? Yes, I think it was. So yeah, we can now cut this edge off of here. Again, quite a bit to come off of here because obviously it's bought the bulk of that binding material with it. So I'm pretty sure I will have to seal that pocket back up. Oh, no, I won't, because it wasn't a pocket page. Who knew? Right, okay, well that saves one job, doesn't it? So let's bring this back in now. So we've got all of our separate pages now. Okay, so now what we want to do is obviously bind these back into a journal. Now, obviously you've got the covers from the original book. So you could, of course, use these as your journal cover. So I'm going to just take this here and just cut it. Now, I'm probably actually better off using my craft knife. Okay, right, there we go. Okay, so definitely you could use this as a cover. Now, the only thing is, I was saying that I was going to bind this with, you know, ribbon or sari silk rather than a ring bound journal. So for me, I feel like this is, yeah, not an ideal cover to be bound with a soft binding, if that makes sense. So I don't know whether that's the thing or whether that's just my thing, but I feel like if it's got a soft binding, it should be a slightly softer, squishier cover. So I probably won't use these, if I'm truthful. I will probably opt for, I don't know, maybe, I don't know actually, what will I use? Let me just have a look around me and see. So I've got some, like a book here with one of those soft covers. I think I would rather use something like this. I think this is going to be too small for these pages, yeah. But if I've got a book that's this, you know, this kind of cover, I personally would feel more comfortable using this type of thing when it's having a soft, squishy, you know, binding rather than... Oh, I'm so sorry. So we are now another day. Just, yeah. I ended up getting, you know, yeah, waylaid. So, yes, we're a different day now. So I have got my crocodile here and I've got my pages. Hopefully I have managed to keep them in, you know, in some sort of order. So what we need to do is obviously punch our holes into our pages. Now, what I might also do is either reinforce some of these pages, the ones that are thinner, so not pocket pages, I may reinforce. This one actually is okay, but there's one or two that I think are quite flimsy. Or I may trim them down so they're not even going to be actually, you know, properly bound in. They're just going to be more of like a, you know, a clip-in piece. Because when we were making this, I did say that I wanted to have a lot of clip-in pieces. So this one, for example, you can probably see, this is pretty flimsy on this side. Now, I personally wouldn't feel confident having this bound in because I would feel like this is quite susceptible then to tearing. So I will either trim this down and have it just, you know, clipped onto this, you know, either this side or this side, or I will reinforce here with maybe some lace or something before actually attaching it in, if that makes sense. So yeah, I might just cut it down, to be honest, because I think that would actually look, you know, pretty nice, just kind of paper clipped in. So that being the case, I want to go through and decide which pieces are going to be actually bound into this and which pieces I'm going to just clip in. So all of these are, you know, quite robust pieces. And so I'm going to obviously bind all of these in. So I'm just going to take my pieces and I'm going to punch some holes. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to bind this through, you know, I can't really describe this, but like this, you know, tying it like that. So sorry, I had to then just stop to sneeze. I'm not going to bind it through like that. I'm going to bind it through like this. So 2 lots of separate bindings, if that makes sense. That I also find just sometimes is slightly easier on your holes, if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't know how else to describe it, but sometimes I feel like if you have it bound through like those, it can just put a bit too much strain on the, you know, on the pieces. So taking my hole punch now, just going to, yeah, probably bind it, yeah, probably here. So there, and then here. Okay, so, oops, my thing moved. It did. These little guide things that you get on the crocodiles, I mean, they're great, and then they suddenly sometimes slide and move, and then they're not so great. But yeah, if they stay in place, they're great. I don't even think I've put that back properly. Let me put my glasses on for this. This is one of those things that I think would be better with glasses. Yeah. So yeah, probably about here, I think. Okay. Okie dokie. So then what I'm going to do is just take this one to use as my guide this way round, if that makes sense. So yeah, now this one again, it's not the thickest, so I may have to put something down there to reinforce that slightly. This one again, not the thickest, so I may cut this down. This might be one that I'm going to just paper clip in. Let me just check that I wouldn't prefer this one. Maybe I will clip this one in. Let me just see. Because sometimes it's about, you know, what's going to look good. Yeah, perhaps I'll take this one down. So I'm going to just put these like this. Okay, just so that I can see roughly, you know, well, it would help if I had got rid of my little punchies. Okay. Just so I can see roughly where it needs to go, you know, height-wise on the page. So then let me just get rid of those. Honestly, sometimes I'm so lazy, I just, you know, try and do it without viewing properly. And then, you know, I've made mistakes a lot in the past and got it in the wrong spot. So before I go on punching the rest of the pages, what I'm going to do is just take this one and we're just going to cut this down so it's more like a journal card. Okay, so that it's not going to actually be bound in, it's going to be clipped in. So take my scissors and just take this down here like that. Okay, and then down quite a bit on that side. Okay, like that. Oh my goodness, what wonky cutting that was. Honestly, I mean, sometimes you have good days and bad days, don't you? But that's definitely a bad day. Oh dear. Right. Not getting any better so far. Oh my goodness, what is going on with me today? I should have stuck with this the other day because I think I've deteriorated drastically. Oh my goodness. Right, well, I'm going to end up with nothing left in a minute because I've had to trim it so many times. Oh, honestly, I'm just having one of those days. They're doing some work outside and I do apologise for the noise, but I think that's making me feel a little bit, not juddery, but, you know, just a bit, oh, I don't know, uneasy. You know, because there's a lot of noise going on outside. They seem to be always doing stuff outside my house, honestly. Right, okay, so you can see that's now like a little pull-out piece. This is not a pocket page, obviously. You know, I don't know whether this would work brilliantly being a pocket page. It probably would fine. But obviously you might have to then reglue it down here. So we might even do one of the pocket pages, who knows. But really, I'm using the ones that are flimsy as my guide to which ones to, you know, to take in. So that one's going to be a journal card. So I just need to remember it's going in there. So I'm just going to take down a few more. So again, just working my way through. I'm picking any that are sort of quite flimsy that are going to be then cut down. So I mean, that's quite a flimsy one. So what I might do is actually Do we want to cut this one down? Let me just see what that one would look down or look like. I mean, not bad, to be honest, not bad. Although I've got a lot of stuff going on this side. So if this were cut down, I'm thinking, would I actually lose anything significant on here? I could do, to be honest. So it would have to come over quite a bit to miss the holes. So, I mean, things like this do require a little bit of, you know, concentration. You can't be too gung-ho, because, of course, you know, if you're cutting this down to have as a clipped-in piece, you're going to make sure, you know, you're going to have to make sure that you're missing the holes. So, technically, you know, that much would have to, you know, to come off. So, I'm just having a look to see whether if I took that much off, see here, I've put this down as a tuck spot. So I could end up in a bit of a tricky situation. But what I could do is, I suppose, either cut those leaves off. I'm so sorry if you can hear that noise. It is very noisy out there. So I'm going to just cut around this. Okay. Yeah, I don't really even know what they're actually doing out there, but yeah, they're always doing things. Right, sorry, I've got now hot glue blobs. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this down on this side, about here. So it's quite a big chunk that's having to come off of there, as you can see. Okay, now I'm just going to move my flowers up so I don't cut those petals off. Oh my goodness, this is not going to go well, is it? I couldn't even get it straight just now, and that didn't have obstacles in the way. So this doesn't bode well for this one, does it? Okay, and then this one, just take that down like that. Okay, so I mean, hopefully this is really demonstrating that, you know, if you honestly have made any journals that you think, oh gosh, I've mucked that up, I'm going to have to just, you know, throw it away or give up on it, you can probably see, I mean, you can get around most things. You know, we're kind of even chopping into our pages that are quite, you know, this page is quite heavily decorated, but by just, you know, cutting kind of carefully, we're actually still managing to, you know, to keep it in some sort of shape. So that's going to go clipped like that. Okay, so let's take this and do our holes, because otherwise I'm going to forget even where those two need to be slotted in. So this one, oops, still got my punchies in there, not good. Okay, one, let's get rid of this one. Okay, okie dokie, so that's in there. So this is going to be clipped in on there somewhere, oops, on there somewhere, and then this one is going to be, oops, clipped in somewhere on here. Do we want to round the corners? Maybe just, yeah, just, or maybe even just one, to be honest. Yeah, maybe like that. I quite like it when you just round one corner. I think that's, you know, something a bit different to do. So this one is obviously a pocket page, and then we've got this one, yep, another pocket page, and this one. Now this one is quite a flimsy one as well, and as you can see, what I've done is made a flippy pad on here. Now I am going to struggle with this, because as you can probably see, I've got this right over on the edge, so I did not plan this well. I think I'm going to struggle anyway, so I might as well cut this down. So right, what I'm going to do is probably have to actually take this off. I'm so sorry about that noise. I just hope that it's not as loud on camera as it is here. Right, so I've removed my flower. Okay, and I'm going to just cut down on my entire side. Now this piece I've stapled on this little squirrel, so I'm just going to take him off because I will re-staple him once we've cut it down, you know, to the size we want it. So I perhaps need to be mindful here of not cutting through that deer's face. So yeah, we can cut it to there, but like no further, because otherwise we've really compromised his little face there. So there we go, like that. Okay, and then I'm going to cut it down here across the bottom. Okie dokie. So yeah, looking quite good, bit wonky, but not too bad. And hey, I mean, like we always say, no one's going to be coming out with a ruler measuring, are they? I'm sure it's, you know, I'm sure it's fine. Right, so we've got rid of those bits, and then we're just going to go over and we're going to staple this little squirrel back on. So just take the original staple out. Oh no, I've actually torn right through it. Oh. I mean, honestly, this is, you know, how to fix a messed up journal. Maybe I should have called it how to mess up a journal. But I mean, hopefully by the end, this is going to be really, you know, a very pretty journal still. And, you know, hopefully demonstrate how easily you can kind of like fix all different issues. So there we go. So I'm going to pop that flower back on, and then our piece is basically kind of like back intact, isn't it? So like that. Okay, so that's going to be a clip-in piece there on that page. So again, taking these, and we're going to punch the holes in these. And like I say, I am trying to be quite careful and do them, oops, you know, thoughtfully. It would have been quite easy to just get the whole bunch of pages and, oh, sorry, and obviously just punch through, you know, the whole clump when they're together. But that would have obviously, you know, possibly caused kind of flimsy pages to be bound in where perhaps they weren't going to be quite strong enough, you know, or I maybe would end up punching in, oops, punching in where, you know, I've got something on the page that would then cause it to, you know, not work or be covered up or something like that. So, you know, sometimes if you're kind of like fixing something and you're doing something like this, you might need to just, you know, proceed with caution, I suppose. Oh, she says, and now look. See, already I have mucked it up because now I'm not sure what was where. Was that way? Was that like that? Was that like that? No, that was here, wasn't it? Oh, you see? See, already I've mucked it up. Right, okay, so now we've got these bits. So then we've got this here. Okay, so going on, we've got these pages, so they're all quite fine. Now this is that one that we said was quite flimsy. This was, I think, the first one that we did together. So yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate because it has actually turned out that this is, you know, quite a thin page here. So again, what I'm going to do is just trim it down so that it's become a clip-in piece. Okay. But I think that's quite nice, really, because actually these pages now are actually forming ephemera pieces. You know, sort of, instead of being pages now, they're actually now ephemera, you know, which is then kind of quite cool in itself, isn't it? So yeah, okay, so that is just going to clip in here. And actually, to be honest, that makes that even prettier as a page, doesn't it? Because we've got a double layer page going on. So pop that like that, and yeah, just want to get one as a guide again. In fact, I can probably do this one as well. Okay, So using this one as my guide, let me just take my hole punch. Oh, get rid of those holes. I'm so sorry. I honestly, they're obviously I don't know what they're doing, but yeah, very loud. Right, okay. Oh, bit of peace for a moment. Okay, so like that. Okay, so that's all looking good. Now, where was this? Honestly, this is so tricky to remember where your bits are. Right, was that there? Was that there? Oh, I don't know. No, it obviously wasn't, was it? That was there. That's for sure. Oh my goodness, I'm losing the plot now of where things are. Right, put these in the wrong place. So that one was not there. I think it was there. And that one was there. Okay. But actually, to be honest, as you know, you probably just saw, I could even switch those around now. You know, which is another thing that's quite fun, isn't it? Because then if you've kind of like, you know, decided, oh, that doesn't look so good, you could always mix them around and then change the order of your pages. So yeah, from that point of view, that's another kind of advantage, I suppose. So again, taking these, now this one is quite flimsy. Let's just see what the other ones are like. That one's a nice sturdy page. That one's quite sturdy. And right, we've got two quite flimsy pages here. So yeah, so I'm going to just keep all of these to one side for a moment, and this is where we may even reorder our pages, to be honest, because if we're going to actually be now having 3 flimsy pages and changing them into ephemera, then we might decide to alter our pages, because we don't want to have like 3 consecutive pages with page ephemera, if that makes sense. Okay, right. Okie dokie. That. And those holes, they're very out of alignment now, aren't they? You can probably see. But, you know, it's all going to be fine. Once it's bound in, you know, A, you're not really going to notice, and B, you know, it's not really the end of the world anyway. So there we go. Right, got my holes punched. So let's now have a quick look through and just see if, obviously, because I've moved these pages that were next to these, see whether we want to reorder any of these pages. I mean, it's just really this one, to be honest. I'm not sure whether it's, you know, the biggest complementary page to that. That being said, I mean, of course, if we're going to then put some sort of, you know, ephemera type piece on there, then I think that will work okay. So I'm going to just take this one down. Okay. Like that. Okay. And just punch that. So this time maybe just do those 2. That's rather nice, isn't it? So yeah, I'm going to just, I think, have that clicked on. Might have to take it in slightly more, because actually that lace is going to be in the way of the binding. So it's just things like that that, you know, you just might have a few issues with. Okay, so yeah, that will go on there. Now, what else I did suddenly think, and actually it's not going to work brilliantly for most of these, but this one, for example, is pretty plain on the back. So I had thought, well, actually what you could also do is you could have taken this in its entirety and glue it on to this page. So that's just another little kind of suggestion, really. So if we just kind of have a flick through, just make sure that we're happy with all the pages, and whether there was a page that was a bit plain that we think, oh, perhaps we could do that with this. Oh, the rest are all quite decorated, to be honest. Yeah. Oh, that one's quite plain. It's quite sturdy, that one. These have all got quite a bit of decoration on, but having said that, I mean, this, for example, it's just a cluster. I could always take that off. So what we could do is just have that, or I could even just tear this out and use this as a cluster. And then, yeah, let's do that. So just taking this one down. So then we can have this glued on here, like that. And then what we could do is just tear this across here. Oops. Actually, I'm going to have to do something here, I think. But anyway, and that then can be a really nice, like, journal card type bit. So again, just taking this down like that. Might have to just take it in this side as well, just so this avoids those holes with the binding like we just talked about. And yeah, maybe I will have to, oops. Oh, I'm so sorry about this. Oh. Honestly, I can only think it is that noise outside is making me jittery, a bit jittery. Right, oh gosh. Okay, so what we could do is have it like that, a little sort of stumpy type piece. So this one we were having back here, weren't we? And yeah, I'm going to glue this down as like a little cluster on that. So just there. Okie dokie. Yep, and then this we can just have clipped in. So yeah, let's round those corners again. 1, oops, 2. Quite liking it just like that. Okay. So I mean, that could even probably slot in there, although it could just still be in the way of those punchy, you know, punch holes. Right, so this one is the only other one. Yeah, so this one I'm thinking, right, I was wondering whether we might just make this a very tall, narrow card. So let's just see if I can pick these off. Only because I'm being really stingy and thinking, oh, I could use them somewhere else. No, they're not going to really come off. So let's just take that down like that. Right. So then what I'm thinking is cut this down here. Oh dear, no. Go back in here like that. Okay, and I wonder if we could just now try and neaten that corner up where I've obviously made a big mess of that. Didn't really factor that in very well, did I? Right. I quite like it like that, to be honest. So yeah, just take that down there a little bit more. Right. So what I would do is ink that so that's a very obvious, you know, yeah, very obvious torn corner rather than looking like the accident that it really was. So, oops, sorry, my blendy tool is now covered in bits from all over the desk. Right, so we're going to just go in there, just ink that up, ink down here, like that, okay, and then just here. Okay, I love that. Really, really love that. You know, and I probably would never have done like a big tall piece like that. You know, so that's another kind of thing that's rather nice is actually, you know, I'm not saying that you would do this if your altered book, you know, was 100% you were happy with it. Of course, why would you tear those pages out? But I sometimes think you end up with like the nicest things and the most unusual things when you do mess about like this and, you know, kind of deconstruct things or reconstruct them. You know, they give you just different vibes to what you perhaps would have done otherwise, which I think is really, really nice. Right, so I've just got this little tiny corner. So I'm just going to go back through now and just see whether I want to put this anywhere. I mean, could even put it there. Although I'm now thinking we did have a couple of pages that I said were still quite flimsy, didn't we? So was that one of them? Well, that's such a shame that that's, yeah. Well, I guess I could have it on that side. I mean, that's going to reinforce that slightly. So yeah, let's just pop that down there. Now, I'm just being really, really lazy and just using my hot glue. But of course, that was complete overkill. You do not need to be using hot glue for things like this, but just popping that down there. And obviously, I've gone over my hole, so I just need to re-punch my hole out. Okay. Oops. It's got a lot of paper in there now, so it was needing a bit of an extra helping hand. Right, there we go. Okay, so I probably do need to reinforce this one as well, but we can, yeah, have a look at that in a moment. So that's our pages now, and then what we can do is obviously bind them like we talked about in that sort of way. Oh, I'm losing the ability to speak here. So what are we going to do to bind them, or what are we going to use, perhaps I should say, to bind them? So you could use some baker's twine here, but I'm thinking probably some sari silk. So let me just see what colour. Oh, just gonna have to reach down and get this from behind my desk. I'm so sorry. Hold on. Oops, bear with me. Oh my goodness. Oh, that was longer to reach for than I'd expected. Oh my gosh. Oh, stuck down the side of my desk. Right, got quite a bit of green sari silk here. Now, do I have any green that's going to be sort of a good complement to this? I'm not sure. Let me just open a couple of the pages and just see what's looking good with this. I mean, to be honest, I think either of these actually are quite nice. So, right, let's take that. And this one. Oops. This is quite bundled up. Oh my gosh, come on. There we go. Yeah, I mean, that's rather a nice colour, isn't it? Or do we prefer this one? I mean, this is very nice. It's quite strong, isn't it? It's quite a strong green, but yeah, I do think it's quite nice. Well, let's use that, shall we? I haven't decided yet what I'm going to put for my covers either. So, I mean, to be honest, I probably should pick my covers really next, but before we bind it, I suddenly thought, actually, we should do some sort of cover for this. So what I'm going to use, I did talk earlier on in this video about, for this type of binding, I feel like those very solid covers of like the hardcover from the book, it was just a bit too rigid. So I wanted something a little bit more flexible. So what I'm going to use is just this, which is obviously, you know, from a 12x12 paper pad. So I'm going to take one of my full-size pages just so that I can get a feel for how big the covers need to be. Okay, so just taking this like this, which actually now looking at this, I probably could even just use one piece in half. So I hope I don't muck this up, but yeah, I'm thinking actually just one. Oh, there we go. Yep. Oh, and I thought I was going to get rid of 2 whole bits from my bathroom, but no, I've still got this piece that I can use for another project. So I'm just putting that to the side of my desk, and I can obviously use that for, you know, another time. So yeah, we're going to use this. Now I'm going to not, you know, glue it together, because often I would, if I was using something like this, I would probably glue it together and make it, you know, much more solid. But then I'm getting straight back to that whole thing of where I said I don't want it to be too solid. I want it to be a bit more squishy. So from that being, you know, the case, I'm going to just put this here and cut it down so that I just get more or less the sort of size that I need it to be. There we go. There we go. And yeah, can get rid of that. And yeah, Just going to tidy these up slightly because, again, that very wonky cutting that I have demonstrated throughout this whole video has yet again occurred. Right, let's see if I can actually tear this down. See if my tearing's better than my cutting today. So, right, okay. And yeah, just, you know, fold it back and forth a couple of times, and then hopefully you'll have made a bit, you know, of enough of a groove to be able to then cut it down, or tear it down, perhaps I should say. That's right. Okay, so yeah, looking good. Right, looking good. Now this I will probably just cover with a bit of the paper and then a bit of paint. Yeah, now I'm just deciding what do I want for the actual outside. So I'll probably use the glossy sides as the outside. So yeah, we'll put it like that. Now, do I want to have the furry edge, i.e. where I've torn it, on the outer edge? Yeah, I quite like the furry edge. So from that perspective, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to paint this slightly. So now I've moved a lot of this paint and put it all away now. So yeah, I'm just going to have to go with the, you know, the colours that I've got still remaining. So I've got those. Now, should I put some book page down? I probably should, because I want it to have some, you know, some sort of flow and continuity with the rest of the book. So let me just bring in some book page. Okay. Right. Okay. Oh, this has got images on every single page. I don't want to waste the images. Right, there we go. So, oh, sorry, she can obviously hear all those roadworks, and or it could have even been the postman that time, to be honest. Right, okay, so let's just take that down. Yeah, she's obviously feeling unsettled by it as well, I think. Right, so I've got some book page there. Now, I might even just collage up in this, because obviously this is not big enough to go around the whole page. So I could even just collage it a little bit. Well, let's just see how it goes. So let's take a full sheet, because then we're getting, you know, a lot of coverage in one hit. So that's all good, isn't it? So, oh my goodness. Not a good crafter today. Not a good crafter at all. Right. So let's put this down here. Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. Now I'm having glue problems. I mean, you're probably just thinking, oh, why is she even bothered doing this? But yeah. Going to give up in a minute and then go and work on my Halloween kit. So yeah, right, okay, so just want to glue this down. Okie dokie. Okay, right, let's squish this down with the glue spreader. And you know, I haven't got the foggiest idea now how long this video has been, so I hope to goodness that I am not just now boring the life out of everybody by you know, just making this really, really, really long. But I just really wanted to demonstrate, you know, how easily you can not fix things necessarily, but get around things. So, you know, like I say, I'm not necessarily saying that you can actually, you know, fix everything, but you can definitely alter things so they are then fixed, even if it means that you've just got to change your thought process and just be a little bit, you know, flexible with what you're, you know, going to then be making. So, and like I say, I mean, sometimes I think actually this is when you produce your, you know, your nicest things, or the things that you're most pleased with, is when actually, you know, you don't have a fixed idea at all, and you're just kind of then letting, you know, letting your mistakes dictate to you, or letting, you know, yeah, not necessarily mistakes, but, you know, kind of letting how things have naturally gone, letting them guide you and dictate to you how your project's going to go. I think sometimes that's when you get your best results. So I'm just filling in, obviously, all of the, you know, cardboard, as it were. So, like that. Okay. Like that. And then, yep, just going to pop that down there. So, I mean, pretty easily, we've, you know, we've filled in all the blanks, haven't we? So, and then, like I say, just for the continuity, I will paint over this so that it's looking, you know, pretty similar to the original pages. Okay, so like that. Oops. And then this one. Yeah, I'll just pop that one down like that. I actually quite liked it that way, funnily enough, so I might have to put it that way. I mean, how much of this will even show once we've painted it, who knows? Probably not a great deal. Okie dokie. I've had such a lovely time working with the kits. So for those people who didn't see my launch video, this is my Autumn 23 kit, and it is called Autumn Harvest. And yeah, I've had a really lovely time working with it, it's got to be said. It's, you know, it's a really nice kit to use. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Right, okay, so that's what I'm doing with that. I might even do the same on the other side, to be honest. So we'll have a think about that in a moment. And again, this is because, of course, it's much easier to, you know, decorate at least your foundation pieces before they get bound in. So, you know, of course you can then, you know, you can finish it off once it's bound in, you know, but actually, you know, the bulk of the decorating, or the base layer of the decorating, because you wouldn't be able to get right up to the edges once it's bound in. I mean, you can obviously then unbind it, you know, you could obviously take it back out of the binding to be able to get to those places, but why, you know, why bother? Why not just do it, you know, kind of as it is anyway. So there we go. I'm sure I just heard the door now, so I think that must be the postman. I don't know what it was Bo heard earlier, although he's not run on the doorbell. Right, but Bo has jumped off, so I'm just going to go and check the door. Hold on. Right, I'm back. So what I did was quickly, while I'd paused the video, I just quickly covered the fronts and the backs, or finished covering the back and the front of these, so that then they're ready for painting, because I thought otherwise this is just, I'm sure, very, very boring for you to be watching. So I am just going to, oops, splodge really a lot of paint on, so I might as well just splodge it around with this. Yeah, honestly, can you just tell I'm not really a painter? Okay, so this is that very thin paint that we talked about previously. You know, it's, yeah, it's quite sort of thin. This is a dried wipe, so, you know, it shouldn't be, perhaps, you know, perhaps I'm pressing a bit hard, because it shouldn't be wiping it off quite to the extent it is, but anyway, it's all fine. So going around like that, and then what I'm going to do, I think, is mix it with a bit of brown. So again, just pop in some brown. Oops. Just using those same colours that, of course, we've got, you know, flowing throughout the whole journal, because, you know, we want it to look obviously coordinated. So there we go. I'm just thinking, just suddenly thought the back page, I think, oh no, yes, the back page is quite green, and I'm sure I've put the bright green away, which is a bit annoying. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of, you know, just do it like this for this, you know, for the time being. If I think it looks really awful, I'll have to unbind it and redo it. But, you know, I'm just keen to obviously get this finished to some extent to be able to show you, you know, the finished article. So now I'm just looking for my heat tool to dry the paint off. So again, I'm just going to stop the video and then I'll be back. Okay, so I'm back. Now, as you can see, what I have done is I've obviously painted the, you know, the insides of the front and back. I mean, they look pretty awful, but of course I haven't decorated them yet. So, I mean, hopefully they're not going to stay looking this awful. And then what I did was I obviously covered the fronts of the, you know, the outside of the covers in book page. And then I've just gone over with some of this gorgeous burgundy coloured lace. I have used this lace literally in about 2 places inside the journal. So again, it's tying it in with the rest of the journal. And then I just had this lace laying around on my desk. It was just kind of a scrappy piece. So I thought I'll chuck that on there. Had this piece, again, just chucked that on there. Now, obviously, I haven't decorated the covers. So we may come back and decorate the covers together if I get time. My only kind of reservation is, obviously, I chose this just now as my colour for my sari silk. And now I'm getting that Christmas vibe going on, you know, that I say about all the time. And I just, oh, as soon as I see red and green together, I'm like, oh, it's Christmas. So I may have to do a U-turn from, you know, this green sari silk. But for the time being, we're just going to go with this, just so that I can show you how this is finally going to look when it's bound together. So, again, just going to take these against the cover, like that. And then I'm just going to punch my holes. Whoops. Oh, my goodness. What is going on with me? I can just never see when there's paper in there or not paper in there. I'm not even sure whether there was or there wasn't, to be honest. Anyway, right. So, punch my holes through. 1, and then, oh, again, I can't see whether there is paper or not, or fabric maybe now, lace, I don't know. So, again, going in like that. Okay, right. Oh, come out, come out. Right, okay. So I'm just going to then do the back cover as well. So just get rid of those hole punchy bits. So exactly the same method, just pop that, oops, like that, okay. Then we're just going to then punch those. 1. I can see it this time. That was the first, wasn't it? Oh, more noise, I'm afraid. So sorry about this. Right. Okay. So that is my covers now. Just need to put this back at the front of the book. So I'm just going to bring my whole book in now. Place it all together. Now this is going to be a bit tricky and fiddly to do, but basically what I want to do is thread my sari silk through the holes in 2 separate bindings, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go through all of the holes, perhaps I should say, all of the holes like that. Oops. Like that. Okay. Okay, so on just this one side. So I'm going to stop the video whilst I quickly, you know, finish threading it through. And then I will come back in a second. Okay, so just to sort of show you how that looks. So can you see I've kind of pulled them all through at the bottom. I am not going to go through the front one, if you see what I mean, like that, or the top one, like I would quite, you know, in quite a few other projects. I'm going to actually tie it off at the side like that. Okay, so they've got completely separate bindings, if you see what I mean. They're completely kind of separate from one another. So I'm going to leave that like that, and then I'm just going to quickly thread it through the top, and then I'll show you. Okay, so I've got my top one, I've got my bottom one, and I'm just going to then tie it off at the side. Now the reason why I think this is quite nice when you've got sort of, you know, flimsier sort of papers is because, of course, you can then adjust how tight this is pulled. So, I mean, obviously I am going to trim this off, but for the moment, I haven't done them too loose. So these pages, they move through here very, very, very nicely. You know, there's no strain on the pages, where if you kind of bind it, you know, wrapping it round and going through the front and then a, you know, a bow here in the middle, then what you can have is quite a tight binding, and then your pages don't turn easily. So that's what I think, you know, is kind of an advantage of doing it this way. So, and I think it looks really pretty too. So I'm just going to trim these off, obviously, so they don't look just weird, you know, hanging out. I just wonder whether I need to tie that top one in slightly more. It's not particularly tight, so yeah, just tie that off slightly more. That's it. Now, like I say, I haven't decorated the insides of the front and the back cover, and I haven't decorated the fronts of the front and the back. Well, not that I will decorate the back, but you know, I probably will come back and do like maybe a topper or something like that and decorate the front. I haven't stuffed this journal either, so obviously we've got quite a few pockets and things like that, and I have made some bits of ephemera ready to put in here. I just haven't done that yet. So I'm going to either come back with a flip through of this completed journal, or we're going to come back and do a topper and sort of, you know, finish it off, you know, kind of completely. So yeah, we'll just kind of play it by ear really, but I hope that that was providing some useful little tips for you. You know, sometimes, I don't know about you, but if you are a fellow junk journal kind of YouTube creator, you know, sometimes you embark on a video thinking, oh, this is going to be a good idea, and then you kind of think, oh gosh, you know, I've bitten off more than I can chew. There were times at this that I thought, oh my goodness, why did I think this was going to be a good video? But I hope that it has proved useful, and hopefully it's going to just give you a bit of inspiration, a bit of courage for, you know, if things don't go quite as you'd planned with something that you've been doing, a project that you've been working on. Maybe it will give you just a little bit of encouragement to, you know, embark on, you know, don't just throw that journal away, or don't just shelve it, you know, putting it on the shelf for another day. Actually just kind of think, do you know what? Yeah, it's not turned out how I'd hoped. You know, I have torn out one too many pages. I have compromised the spine, or, you know, my pages are dropping out, or, you know, whatever else can happen. Sometimes you've got a wobbly signature or something. Any of those things, you know, I think we're probably, most of us, guilty of doing things like that, and then we just put those projects on the shelf and kind of think, oh no, I'm going to have to write that off as, you know, a bad day at the office kind of thing. So hopefully this has just kind of encouraged you to not do that, and just to go back to those projects and think, well, actually, you know what, you know, yes, that mucked up, but actually I think, you know, I can still work with it and still kind of turn this around into something like really, really lovely. So yeah, hopefully you feel encouraged and inspired. And yeah, obviously if you like the kit that I've used, like I say, it's my autumn harvest and it's for sale on my Etsy shop. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks then.